And Dr. Lidoff is the owner and lead physical therapist at Battleborn Health. She works with both her physical therapy patients and her functional medicine clients to help them achieve their health goals, whether that's recovering from knee surgery, training for a triathlon, or just wanting to feel and be healthier. She has a doctorate in physical therapy from Temple University and is certified in functional medicine from the Kalish Institute? Kalish Institute. Potato. She's going to talk to us about women being a little bit different than men.
Just a little.
I mean, the pendulum certainly swings one way or the other. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Maybe after the talk you'll get it.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you very much for having me. So this talk is Women Are Not Small Men, and I did steal that from Dr. Stacy Sims. She's got some fabulous books, and I quoted them in here. So this is how to train women differently. So when I was in my 40s, I remember sitting in my car right after an awful daycare drop-off. My daughters were 3 and 5 at the time, and I was just so tired and beyond uncomfortable. I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. And I was 20 pounds heavier than I'd ever been. And despite starting antidepressants, I was so stressed out, I just sat in the car and cried. So they look really cute here, but they were a handful. I was working out like crazy. I was swimming 4 days a week for an hour and a half at 5 a.m. And I did not mean to do that. Sorry, just getting used to this computer here. I was doing doubles most days for my exercises. I was lifting weights. I was doing high intensity interval training, or also known as HIIT. 3 days a week, I was running 3 to 6 miles 2 days a week, and I was cycling 1 to 2 hours 2 days a week. So I was doing everything I thought I was supposed to do, including restricting my diet to 1,000 calories a day, and still not achieving the results I craved. So I felt fat, frustrated, and absolutely fatigued. Despite eating what I thought was a healthy diet, I got sick. I was always sick. I got every cold and infection that passed by me. In 2009, I had multiple severe colds that all progressed to bronchitis. I was on 9 rounds of antibiotics in 16 months, as well as 5 rounds of steroids in less than 9 months. I hadn't had a period in almost 2 years. I was on inhalers for adult onset asthma, and yet that year I competed and placed in 4 triathlons. So I was super healthy, right? I saw so many doctors, and most of them just told me your TSH is normal, your T4 is on the low end of normal. It's no wonder you're tired. You got 2 little kids and you're almost 40. If you are gaining weight, you need to eat less and exercise more. My friend, who happened to be a functional medicine doctor, saw how frustrated and defeated I was, and he offered to help me. He talked to me about things that I didn't understand, like HPA axis dysfunction, leaky gut, and hormone deficiencies. My father is an orthopedic surgeon, and I firmly believe in medical doctors and pharmaceutical medicine. I also believe that the body knows how to heal when we know how to optimize function. I've been a physical therapist for 28 years. I've been studying functional medicine, nutrition, and metabolism since 2013. I was 15 years in my profession before I realized that there was a difference between male and female metabolisms. With functional medicine, I learned how all the body systems are integrated, and to be healthy, they all have to work together. So the thing is up until the early 2000s, fitness research was done on young men. Let that sink in. It's only been 20 years they have been looking, that the medical research community has started research on women and how our hormones play a factor in metabolism. Women have a very different physiology. How women thrive and perform can be greatly enhanced when our physiology is taken into consideration during training and recovery. And if you recognize my story or hear the following complaints of one of your patients, please help her. Let her know there are answers. They may just not be pharmaceutical answers. What I'd like to do today is give you some of the practical knowledge of what I do in my programs with women to get them thriving, understanding their physiology, and how to optimize their function. So to start, women are different than men. They have a daily circadian rhythm and a monthly cycle. Women in most modern cultures feel a lot of shame around their bodies and a need to fix it. We have been told to be small, thin, and weigh less. More is always better. If 20 minutes is good, then an hour and a half, 7 days a week is better and more worthy. So in order to better train our female patients, we need to start by reviewing the menstrual cycle. So do you remember that there are 4 very distinct phases, and it isn't just about having a period? On average, most women have a predictable 28-day cycle, and hormones levels change significantly in each phase. There's research that shows for cycling women, the menstrual cycle should be one of the 5 health markers, just as important as blood pressure, heart rate, BMI, and cholesterol. This cycle affects all other hormones and body processes. It affects growth, detoxification, neurotransmitters, and metabolic function. The first half of the cycle is called the follicular phase, where the follicle is getting ready to be released. The second phase is the luteal phase, where the egg is either fertilized or the lining is shed. So early follicular phase, days 1 through 5, day 1 is the first day of bleeding. All sex and stress hormones are low. We're looking at LSH, FSH, estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and cortisol. Hormones support well-being and feeling good. So the first day or 2 of her bleed week, she is low too. She may be slower, more lethargic, uncomfortable, crampy, and achy. Fatigue is very common, and she may be really tired. I want you to think about your male clients that have low testosterone. They have decreased endurance and decreased power. Everything they do just feels harder. Late follicular phase, days 5 through 14, LH starts to rise towards the middle of the first week, then FSH starts to work, which then brings estradiol up, which then signals for testosterone to come along. All hormones rise on day 4 to 14 of the cycle to support feelings of well-being. You will see increased energy, increased mood, feelings of strength and power. Sleep is better and more restful. Libido is starting to rise. The tendons are stiffer, but paradoxically the ligament laxity can be a factor around day 10 to 15. Ovulation happens around day 14, the egg's released. So then we have the early to mid luteal phase, days 16 to 23. Estrogen decreases as progesterone rises. Her body temperature increases due to progesterone, so she's less resilient in the heat. She doesn't regulate hydration as well this week, so she can get dehydrated before she even knows it. Late luteal phase, day 24 to 28. All hormones are low, progesterone takes a nosedive. The severe drop of progesterone can be catabolic and inflammatory, and this is when sleep is queen. And ironically, the progesterone drop can make quality sleep really difficult. Rest and recovery is most needed. She may experience fatigue, decreased motivation, cravings or increased hunger. Poor recovery, it takes longer to recover from a workout. She might have feelings of psychological distress, irritability, and decreased self-esteem. So here's how this information applies and how she can train to build her nutrition around her cycle. One of the reasons I'm so passionate about this is that most women don't know this. She's looking to you as the expert, the medical provider, the person she trusts for guidance on her health, to be the ones to educate them about their cycles and how to work with it, not against it. There are real answers out there. So this is a handout in the links, and that goes to a blog that you guys can give to your patients. You can print it out and give it to your patients if they're interested in this. And this is what we're going to review in detail. So the early training recommendations for the early follicular phase during menstruation, these are the days where she may get really frustrated. The things that she knows she can do feel hard physically and emotionally, such as attempting a workout that she knows she's capable of, but today she just feels like crap. She doesn't know why. She thinks it's her failure, not her hormones. Some women feel fine and can perform if nothing is happening, but commonly there's more fatigue, low motivation. They may not be up for a heavy hit or high intensity workout. Explosive work is really difficult. So they do well with low intensity, steady state cardio in a zone 2, such as walking, swimming, or an easy cycle. They might do well with things like restorative yoga or gentle Pilates. The nutritional recommendations during this phase. We want a higher fat, moderate protein, and a lower carbohydrate. So 70% fat, 20% protein, and 10% net carbs. When estrogen is low, carb sensitivity is low. This means they cannot convert carbohydrates to energy as efficiently. And this causes problems with blood sugar regulation. So they end up on this dreaded blood sugar roller coaster. They need to focus on easily digestible fats, proteins, and vegetables. Women are losing blood. They need to increase their iron and blood supporting foods at this time. So eating higher in fat and lower in carbs is much more tolerated due to low cortisol and low estrogen levels. Dark meat is good for iron. Organ meats are great if she'll do it. Things like broth, soups, stews, and roasted low glycemic vegetables are great. Shredded, poached beets, whole eggs. This can be a really good time for restricted eating or fasting. So mid or late follicular phase, this is when hormones are rising and women tend to feel at their best. They feel stronger, motivated, energetic, and sexy. So training, estrogen and testosterone are rising, and because testosterone gets to its highest this week, this is the prime time to work on strength gains. She can handle hard workouts at this time. She can handle longer duration and heavier loads. You want to work big muscles, compound movements, and push these to the limit. You want to focus on glutes, legs, and back. You can do high intensity interval training this week. She'll recover easily this week because sleep is better and more restful. Ligament laxity considerations. The research on ligament laxity is lacking. Say that fast. But the research is primary on the knee and the ACL, but not much on anything else. We can extrapolate that if the knee is lax, so is the spine and the pelvis. Therefore, overall stability is compromised. From day 10 to 15 is when most of the research states there's potential for ligament damage. Clinical and other research indicated this is a great time for controlled strengthening. So you want to limit momentum type motions such as a kipping pull-up, tire throwing, fast twisting, or weighted jumping. Strength and stability focusing on form and control, such as technique-focused heavy squats, deadlift, strict overhead press, or strict pull-ups. Nutrient concerns at this time, we want moderate fat, moderate protein, moderate carbohydrate. So estrogen supports fat burning and tolerance of increased carbohydrates. She's more sensitive to carbs at this time. She can increase her glycemic load and regulate her blood sugar more efficiently to use for energy. This is not the time she will thrive on a keto diet or caloric restriction. This is when she's going to thrive on tons of higher glycemic vegetables and fruits. She'll do well with things like sweet potatoes, tubers, beets, squashes, parsnips, and carrots. Protein is very, very important to build muscle. We want to increase protein this week, especially since she's increasing the intensity of her workouts this week. She'll be less tolerant of long fast at this time. She will have cravings and she'll be hungry. This is not the time to restrict. Shorter fasts are recommended this week, especially if she's training hard, so a 12-12 or a 14-10. So early luteal phase, week 3, training recommendations. Hormones are still there for support, so she should go with more moderate intensity strength, increase the reps with slightly lower weight. This is a great time for a HIIT. The ligaments are more stable for dynamic training sessions, so this is when you want to push agility, coordination, and training with these athletes. As progesterone rises, the body temperature rises. She'll be less resilient in the heat. Make her aware of this. Hydration regulation is also an issue this week. She may not notice her thirst until she's already dehydrated. And this is really important for your athletes that do those summer races or train in fall sports. Nutrient concern, 70% fat, 20% protein, 10% carbohydrates. As estrogen drops, so does insulin sensitivity. It's time to decrease the carbs and increase good fat and protein. By the end of this week, if she's not careful, she'll start to have cravings due to nutrient deficiencies. She's able to tolerate longer duration fasting this week, so at 16-8 or at 18-6, if she's already fasted and adapted in fasting. So late luteal phase, week 4. Training recommendations toward the end of this week, she may be tired and depleted. The severe drop in progesterone will cause inflammation and increased catabolic function. This is the time to focus on movements that feel good, focus on restorative and regenerative recovery. Lots of days off this week are encouraged. She can lift lighter weights with higher reps. She wants to do body weight and dynamic movement activities such as Pilates, yoga, steady state cardio like a walk in nature, a gentle swim, and easy paddleboard. She needs to prioritize care and sleep this week. This is the week for encouragement and praise. Educate her that this is the week to make sure she gets sleep. She will not hit her goals without recovery. So don't go to bed at midnight and get to the gym by 5. Nutritional concerns, 40% fat, 40% protein, 20% carbohydrate. This week she might need more calories. She's depleted and her body has more energy requirements. Focusing on natural fats, proteins, lots of vegetables. Magnesium-rich foods can help with sleep and muscle aches. When women lower calories and restrict this week, it leads to binges on crappy foods. So have her focus on clean carbohydrates, not Ben and Jerry's with a side of potato chips. So now, to complicate matters even more, this changes significantly as a woman ages, so let's look at the lifespan and how this plays out. And I did change the names of all of the women on this. So Caitlin is a student athlete. She's complaining of patellofemoral pain. She plays soccer for the high school and for the club. Training 2 hours daily for the high school and 2 hours, 2 days a week for the club, and there is no communication between any of the coaches. She has unrelenting anterior knee pain that worsens with high school soccer. She frequently has hamstring strains, and she's had 1 stress fracture so far in high school doing track in her off season. So who here has a kid in competitive sports? Nobody? Yeah? With the best of intention, who actually eats a real homemade dinner every night between 6 and 7 p.m. It never happened in our house, not with competitive sports. So school starts at 7:30, lunch is around 11. Practices are from 3 to 5, so she'll occasionally eat a bar or a yogurt at 7. And the morning lunch is a sandwich and chips from Jimmy John's. Often they grab Starbucks before practice. Dinner may be a protein, a pasta, and a veggie, but most of the time it's fast food on the way home from practice. So what did we do with her? We started educating her and her parents about how to speak with the coaches, let them know that she's injured, and that she's working with rehab. The PT, when the coaches are open to it, will speak to them about how to manage their volume and expectations at practice while they're getting better, while they're in rehab. We corrected the strength and muscular imbalances in the clinic, giving appropriate stability and warm-up exercises. We created a plan on how to navigate 3 sports and get recovery. We focused on fueling with high-quality proteins, vegetables, and fats. We made sure to increase her nutrient-dense foods. We worked with mom to build a concrete plan to have the right foods available to fuel her during her crazy seasons. We taught her how to track her own cycles so that she can train optimally each week. So recommendation for this population, we want to promote growth and strength training versus weight loss and restriction. We want to acknowledge overtraining and that is different for each athlete. More is not better. And I would love to spend some time on relative energy deficiency on sport. During this presentation, but due to the time restrictions, I added a link. It's really important to screen your athletes of all ages on this. Normalize a regular cycle. Teach them that having a normal cycle is part of being strong and healthy. We want to improve body image, emphasize being strong versus being small. Sleep is absolute. They will not perform well on 5 hours of sleep. These kids go to bed late and they wake up really early. And as it's been said so far a couple times today, they need times of periodization for recovery and strength gains versus training continuously with a high volume sport year round. So Ashley's a CrossFit athlete. She's 32. She was a swimmer in college. She goes to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. She is competing with her boyfriend to get a PR every day. She also is trying to crush her hip. She came to me with severe shoulder pain, biceps impingement. She would wake up 3 times a night with pain. She would Advil prior to her workouts, but never missed a day. When I asked her about her cycle, she tracks for pregnancy, but other than that, she had no idea about the rest of her cycle. She was unaware of how to manage her nutrition or exercise based on her cycle. So during her shoulder rehab, we discussed training modifications around her cycle. We changed up the always hard days. We programmed in the hard training days during the late follicular phase. We did strengthening with control when testosterone was high and focused control when there was a potential for ligament injury. Week 3, we lowered the weight, increasing the reps, and we programmed in appropriate recovery based on her hormone levels. At the end of week 4, we did flexibility, body weight, restorative movements, and sleep. We put together a plan around her nutritional intake, increasing her daily protein. We decreased the fake food versus like the powders and the bars. She was having real food for fuel. She ate chicken, beef, tons of vegetables with good fats and the appropriate ratios for her activity and her hormone levels. She's pain-free. She's still working towards her plan and mentioned how much better she feels, that she's no longer having the days where she's kicking her own ass and failing. She feels stronger and more energized. There we go. Exercise in pregnancy, during pregnancy and postpartum is not to be ignored. It is complex enough that there are multiple certification courses to be knowledgeable enough to safely guide the female athletes during this phase of her life. So Amanda was 35 and she was damned and determined to get her pre-baby body back. Right after she had her first kid, she signed up for a marathon. She severely restricted her calories, worked out with long duration cardio, body weight HIIT, and lots of abdominal exercises. She raced when her baby was 9 months old to find out a week later she was pregnant with her second child. After that second child, she came in to see me with a 4-finger diastasis recti, doming knee pain and back pain. So during pregnancy, cycles stop. Progesterone is high, relaxin is high, the laxity of the ligaments are severe. The abdominals are on constant stretch and the linea alba is on strain. So we've grown leaps and bounds in pregnancy and exercise. Now the pregnant woman can exercise and listen to their body, but the pendulum has swung way too far. The women who are pregnant now have been athletes, right? They'll leave it all on the field. They have no idea how to actually listen to their body. So things to look out for: diastasis recti has been linked with long-term back pain, pelvic floor weakness, and incontinence. She may be unintentionally increasing these issues with poor form. Stress urinary incontinence, we've normalized it in the gyms, but we still ignore it. And it's a serious condition that should be addressed by a pregnancy, postpartum trained or pelvic floor physical therapist as soon as possible. She doesn't understand that the way she's doing her sit-ups and her crunches and her pull-ups are exacerbating this diastasis. They're increasing her lumbosacral instability and weakening her pelvic floor. This will ultimately significantly decrease her performance, if not sideline her completely. We need to prioritize sleep. For these women, sleep is really tough. They're busy, they work, they have kiddos that don't sleep, they have lives that are not their own. They love their workouts, yet they're not prepared. They often give up sleep to be able to work out. They need solid nutrition. They ate chicken nuggets off their toddler's plate. Okay. These women are eating bars and protein powders on the go. Telling someone like Amanda to give up her high-intensity cardio isn't going to work. Trust me, I have tried. But instead, we educate her on zone 2 training and having her varying it up with her harder days. We program in specific recovery with easy workouts to keep her motivated and on track. We do resistance training with specific boundaries on form due to laxity, realizing she wants to do more and she will push through that pain. She was taught when and how to push without damaging her body for long-term gains. This population of women are focused on the scale. We need to guide them on learning about metabolic health, and to be metabolically healthy, they need muscle, they need sleep, they need real food, and they need recovery. And the final story I want to share with you is about Jen, who's perimenopausal. She's a 53-year-old nurse who's always a hardcore athlete. She worked out like crazy. She was in the midst of perimenopause. She gained 35 pounds, started having back issues, hip pain, and Achilles tendonitis, severely limiting her activity. She continued to gain a lot of weight despite all of her efforts with diet and exercise. She really tried to fix all of these problems on her own. Eating low in fat, bicycling like crazy, and it just didn't work. Her periods came sometimes after 15 days and sometimes after 63 days. They were heavy, sometimes bleeding for 14 to 20 days in a row. Her hot flashes would wake her up in the middle of the night with her mind racing. She was just getting sicker and more miserable. I took her through my Fueled to Thrive program. She lost 20 pounds in 3 months. It was the first time the scale had budged in 2.5 years. What we did was clean up what she ate. We didn't restrict it. She's now eating enough calories and the appropriate macronutrients, which are higher in proteins and fat, low to moderate carbohydrate due to her decreases in estrogen, and she's no longer eating processed foods. We adjusted her workouts so she's spending less time exercising and more time in recovery. Her body is now out of fight or flight. I also want you to think about relative energy deficiency in sport with these women, not just your student athletes. She was not fueling appropriately, nor was she recovering appropriately for her activity. So now her Achilles feels so much better. She can now walk 3 miles, whereas before she couldn't even walk 1. She's lifting and concentrating on strength gains versus calorie deficits. So in perimenopause, so if your client seems crazy, it's not her fault. Please tell me this because she really thinks she's crazy. So right here, this is perimenopause. It is truly mad chaos. It's no longer cyclical, right? So you can't predict it anymore like you used to be able to predict it, and it causes a lot of symptoms. Her lowered hormones affect her cortisol, her neurotransmitters, and average age of menopause in women is 51 in the US. Symptoms can start 10 years prior to menopause, with the last 2 to 3 years being the most severe. So what do these women need to feel strong, capable as they age? They need to lift heavy shit, right? What do they need? We're gonna forget this old, weak, frail crap that we picture women in. So they need to independently be able to lift. they need to be able to hike, they need to be able to move their kids around. The way that they're gonna do this is by increasing their weightlifting. They need muscle. They just don't know it. The deposition of fat in the abdominal area will go away with muscle. So these women are afraid of being bulky. They were told to be skinny, not have muscle. We need to educate them on this. They need to know that they need to recover, that doing hard work daily is not gonna help them. Less hormonal support increases the time needed for recovery. So, but that's what they think they have to do, is work out every single day. Women are designed to go long and slow. They need to mix that up with high intensity workouts, 3 to 4 strength training per week, plyometrics for bone density, short hard workouts under 30 minutes for fat oxidation, and lots of variety is good. Muscle confusion is needed. These ladies need to take this strength and resilience in the next 20 years of their life to avoid falls, hip fractures, and vertebral fractures. Protein and fat are very important at this time. They usually need to eat more protein. The majority of them don't eat enough to actually create muscle. So, and remember, they need to get to eat real food. Wrong way. So, if you remember anything, it is this. Women are not small men. They have 4 very distinct cycles in a 30-day period that directly impacts our training, energy levels, and nutrition. So many women are struggling right now. They think they are failing, but honestly, the research has failed them. They can succeed if we teach them how their body functions. Helping women remain active, strong, and athletic throughout her lifespan is my passion. As an aging female athlete, as a female coach, as a mom with a daughter playing sports at the D1 level, I know that the female body is capable of amazing things. The issue is so many women do not know what they should be doing to be strong and healthy. They are undereducated and not given the tools to succeed. I've used my advanced education and years of experience to build a program that allows the proper amount of time and guidance for these women to learn how to thrive. I wholeheartedly believe that everyone can be stronger than yesterday. Thank you.